we're back at 11 minutes before the hour of 7 o'clock. Very intriguing discussion this morning on standards, who sets the standards and why. And before we went to break, I was making the point about medication and the standard for medication, and these folks know that in the United States, a lot of people are heading north to Canada to buy medication that's considered illegal in the United States. How do you account for this kind of attitude, folks? I mean, and we all have one standard for the world.
Well, what we are saying is that there are different countries can have different standards for their particular, for their citizens. But overall, they are international standards. And if you are trying to come up, if you are talking about medication, if you're talking about laboratories, what we are saying is that there's always a very high level that you can aspire to, which is the international standard, or for different reasons, there might be different levels, but everyone is trying to aspire to the highest standard, which is the international standard.
So it seems that sometimes laboratories are accredited and sometimes they're not.
Yes.
So what is the difference in terms of accountability for these standards?
Well, the international standards in the region, we have adopted the ISO, the International Standards Organization, their standards. America has standards for laboratories as well, and Europe has standards for laboratories. But the process of working towards your accreditation, meaning that you are certified or you have your international certificate, it is a process. Just as if you are working towards your A level or you're working towards your degree, you start and you do your first year and there are things you have to accomplish. The same way with a laboratory. You start, there are things you have to accomplish, then you have to build on that until when you get to the end, you can say, yes, I have completed everything. It is the same thing.
Trumel, Redmond, though, you can tell us a bit about this new logo. Show us the logo and tell us a bit about that and how we can really continue to ensure that the playing field really is level.
Okay, yes. So on October 14, globally, World Standards Day is celebrated annually. And this year, they have selected the theme, Standards Level the Playing Field. And from the logo, you can see that there's a dice and there is 6 on each side. So it really speaks to the fact that standards really help to level the playing field, regardless of where you are, which country you're in. Once you adhere to those standards that have been developed, you can participate in trade, you can ensure the quality of goods and services being provided to your citizens. So I think the theme is very relevant for this year.
Can you tell us quickly anything about the 10th European Development Fund and any of its components? Okay,
yes. So currently, with funding from the European Union, CROSQ and Indocal from the Dominican Republic, CROSQ and CARICOM, the countries in CROSQ and the Dominican Republic make up the CARIFORUM states, and currently we're receiving funding from the European Union to implement the 10th European Development Fund. And this project, the Technical Barriers to Trade project, is looking at facilitating trade with the European Union and the CARIFORUM states. So what we have recognized is that although we would have signed on to the Economic Partnership Agreement in 2008, we have not really been able to benefit from the markets that are there. So this project is helping to build our capacity with regards to quality infrastructure. And when I say that, I'm speaking of the standards and the accreditation and the conformity assessment that is critical to ensure that the products that we want to export to the European Union actually meets the requirements that need to be met. So we're building the capacity of those laboratories, we're building the capacity of organizations such as the BNSI and other bureaus of standards across the region so that they can
it's like building respect and trust.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
In the process of building this respect and trust, how do you keep touch with the end user? Because pretty much as though you're studying accounting, you can do the ACCA, the CPA, and you know, different types of things. It's the same thing here. And the point I want to make is, if I am going for a blood test, and I don't see this on the door, you know, should I worry? If I am going
Remember,
to have,
they're in process.
well, we're talking about the process. So,
Right.
so you need to tell me as a consumer, what should I do? Are you going to assign an interim kind of position so I know they're working towards it? I mean, how do I know if I'm, you know?
Well, the project, the laboratory quality management system, stepwise improvement process is a project paid for by the United States President's Emergency Funding. And this project is over the entire region. And what we are doing is we are working with medical laboratories through laboratory assessments. And we are helping laboratories to start to prepare and also to improve their quality management
And
system.
they're going to be required to sign on to this.
Work ultimately
the
toward
way
it.
they are, what we are saying is everybody is not at the same level.
No, I understand
and
that.
We are helping the laboratories to improve their quality management systems and to improve themselves so that they can improve the patient care and the services that they are offering.
So they could be called upon, or they have to continually try to demonstrate their competence.
Yes, exactly.
All right, so Mr. Platt, tell us a little more. There's another standard that you wanted to discuss. Is it road safety?
Yeah, the reason why is that we wanted to come to grassroots. We wanted to see the practicalities of applying a standard. Now, in Barbados, for example, we could say 30% of accidents happen at work. Now, there's a well-known construction firm right now that are in the process of implementing ISO 39001, road safety traffic management system. Now, what they're doing, as you mentioned with the labs, it's a process. So they have to look at their system. They have to look at their trucks, their workers. Are they trained properly? Have they gone through some kind of induction? What are they doing when they are on work zones, for example? Do they put all the cones down? What about their flagmen? All of these things are assessed. Now, the standard, the ISO standard, is an international standard. So it has processes in there that they can do an audit of their practical systems that they have right now to see if they actually measure up. And if they don't measure up, then they close those gaps. So at the end of the day, it would result in less fatalities on the road, less injuries. So this is something that is real. This is what's happening right now.
Does that also guide things like the how smooth the asphalt ends up being and the width of the barriers alongside the road, things like that?
Well, if you imagine you're a construction firm and you're actually laying asphalt, it wouldn't deal with that aspect, but it would deal with the fact that you've got workers on a highway, not what safety aspects are they going to implement to ensure that there is no injuries to their workers. So those are the things that are implemented in that standard. So they would have the proper framework then to ensure that they monitor it and they have continued improvements.
So that's more about keeping the workers safe. I was thinking more like keeping drivers as well
But drivers
safe.
too, because I was going to
that's
raise
right,
this
that's
question
right.
with you. Would that apply to current construction that going on now, where at night there are not enough reflectors or enough lights to warn you of hazards on the road and that kind of thing during construction?
Correct. That's exactly the case.
What it is.
But you say that, and I have to ask you though, there are some skeptics who suggest that all of this standardization just drives up the price of doing business.
I don't know if I can answer that one. but,
has to be done.
but the thing is, can you really correlate driving up the price of business to people's health and safety? I think the two doesn't mesh. I think
Well, the point I wanted to make though, that what may be necessitated in a fully developed country like the United States might not be necessary in Barbados. You know, we haven't got flyovers or overpasses, and so the level of safety and so on may not be the same thing you want to apply there and here.
Yeah, that may be understandable to a certain degree because of certain things you don't have, but the safety still remains the same. If you've got a worker on a work zone, you still want to protect him. So there's principles in the standards that will still apply no matter where you are.
I have more questions about that whole asphalt thing, though. Seriously, because I'm thinking, you know, could someone should there not be a standard too for the texture of the asphalt? Because that determines how safe people are. And the width of, I actually was watching a documentary where a company in the US, the company charged with building the metal side barriers, the crash barriers that are supposed to help save people, caused the deaths of a number of people, and it was because the company decided that they were going to make it just 1 inch thinner, so it wasn't as broad, and it became a weapon. It really became a weapon. So maybe we could talk more about
Their
those
standards
things.
and their standards.
Yeah. October what? October 14th. So we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Good talk, though. Thank you very much, Dr. Claire Durant. She's the project coordinator of the LQMS SIP with CROSQ, and you saw the new logo. Let's see it one more time. Of course, a CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality. And we also heard from Trumel Redmond, Technical Officer Accreditation and Conformity Assessment with CROSQ, and Jonathan Platt, Technical Officer Standards Development, Engineering and Building Components with the Barbados National Standards Institute. Thank you all so much.